And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through to 5. I'm delighted to be joined now by the former Donegal Minor footballer, Michael Murphy, as he looks ahead to this Sunday's Electric Ireland GAA All Ireland Minor Football Championship final between Monaghan and Derry, kicking off at 1 o'clock in Box IT Armagh. This summer, Electric Ireland is using their social channels to spotlight a player each week partaking in the football, hurling and camogie minor championships. You can follow the campaign on social media at Electric Ireland and via the hashtag This Is Major. Michael, how are you?
Good, John. Good to be here. Thank you.
Great to talk to you as always, Michael. Let's start with your minor days. Were you 16 playing for Donegal Minor?
Yeah, I got 2 years at minor. First year in 2006 and second year 2007. Second year was a little bit more kind of interrupted. I was with the kind of Donegal 21s and seniors that year, so it was a lot of mixing and juggling. But and it was a first round exit in 2007 too. So but 2006 now we had a great year. We won Ulster Minor League and Ulster Minor Championship. And we got beat in the semi-final in Croke Park against Kerry, against Tommy Walsh and David Moore. I'll never forget it to this day. It was a scar that I still carry. They were giants. They were a young 16-year-old going into that field to battle with Tommy Walsh. It was it was an experience. But an experience nonetheless that was a good one, in terms of you came away from it and you realised the level, and you said, right, pull the socks up and let's go at this thing and try and get stuck into getting a little bit quicker, a little bit stronger, and a little bit better, So it was a learning that I took away,
Were you petrified the night before, Michael? Were you?
Do you know what we did at that stage? Video analysis and everything was starting to come in, but you were coming off reports, you hadn't seen them, with all the video going on now. I'm sure every minor team sees each other or would have played against each other at schools level or something, But we were just told, that, Tommy Walsh is, son of a Kerry legend, a big man, that kind of way. But it wasn't until you were standing beside him in the middle of Croke Park and the ball has been thrown up in the air for the start of the game that you really realised the ability and the size of himself and David Moore. So yeah, no, probably not. No, I was excited the night before. Then we're going down the road. We stayed in Dublin the night before, and we were going down, excited and confident as you would do at that age, off the back of a successful Ulster campaign. But yeah, we were humbled that day in Croke Park.
Did that give you the taste, though? I want a bit more of this.
I think it did, yeah. We're very fortunate. It was the time when Ulster finals were being played in Croke Park, and we were one of the lucky teams, the minor team. We played Antrim there in the Ulster final, so we got 2 shots at Croke Park that year. So up until that, it was just your annual visit to go up and to watch games up there, but to actually get to get the opportunity to step foot out there was just. For me, it was exciting. It was just like you said, it was the place that you wanted to be, and that you got the taste of it around it. And it was just, listen, it was immaculate. The grass was immaculate. Just everything was. You felt the ball traveled further. The big games were being had around there, and it was just, you wanted the taste to get back there. So it took a couple of years to get back there, but it was nice nonetheless,
Derry and Monaghan in the final tomorrow, a novel pairing.
They are, but well deserved. Seen them on a couple of occasions. Seen Monaghan early in the year against Fermanagh, and in the early rounds, seen them playing actually against Derry too, a number of weeks ago. And I've seen Derry a couple of times too. They were really impressive against Galway in the All Ireland quarter final. I think it was down in Carrick. Really good, dangerous inside forwards, really strong defensively. Play quite similar, it looks like, to watching your Derry senior team in ways. Monaghan has serious speed. Really, couple of really good nippy forwards. The game that they had a number of weeks ago, that was exciting. I remember sitting down to watch. I think it was on a Sunday evening here, and it was really good. So listen, novel pairings, but again underlines the trajectory of both the counties. It's amazing what a bit of senior success can do. It really invigorates those young lads, they get an opportunity to see a picture of what's ahead of them and say, I want to be part of this, successful senior squads, and it's a great building block. It's a great building block to see these young players come through. Not so long ago, Derry had very successful minor and 20 sides, and they're now backbone in their senior side. And no doubt a lot of these Derry and Monaghan, players that's playing tomorrow will be looking to get stuck into senior sides in the years coming.
Yeah, Derry won in 2020. 3 years ago, they won the Minor All Ireland. Monaghan have never won it. Their first appearance is 1939. When you consider, Michael, Monaghan's a county of just over 60,000 people, what they're doing at the moment in football is pretty staggering.
Yeah, it is, and you know what? Knowing a lot of the Monaghan current senior players at the moment, and knowing, just saying, coming up against them over the years, and just even underage coming up against them. Sometimes, when you're, and I know it's from club level here within the county, when you maybe have limitations in terms of certain resources, in terms of numbers, as we're speaking there, you squeeze as much as you can out of the things that you need to. You focus on the big things to get right. And I think it's a lesson towards maybe, certain places that have a lot of numbers, that, focus on the big elements. Sometimes we can start focusing on minor little things and trying to tweak them because they're the new glitzy things to get right. But credit where credit is due to Monaghan. They have got they've squeezed every bit out of the can. And you know what? They have quality. And that's another big thing that sometimes can be overlooked. You look at their senior side playing at the weekend, and I said I've seen this minor side playing over the last number of weeks too. I've seen them on 3 occasions. They have quality players, quality footballers, and sometimes quality can't be replaced in a lot of the sides. And listen, they have a small togetherness, where they're maybe, on a weekly basis they're battling against the odds. I'm sure that gives them serious motivation. But they squeeze as much as they can out of their resources, and they have serious quality in their ranks too.
At senior level, no more so than Conor McManus. He still has it. Put that penalty away against Armagh.
Penalties. One top right corner, one top left corner. Was lucky, as I say, to have got known Conor very well. Still fairly friendly with him. Roomed with him on international rules trips on a couple of occasions, and he's a predator. He's got instincts that I've yet to see many, if any, players having, in terms of getting the ball anywhere inside the attacking 45. He has an ability to get a shot away, which more often than not goes over the bar. And it was no surprise to see him coming on again at the weekend with his first touch. Absolutely underneath the Hogan stand. Really difficult kick, even for somebody that had been playing all game. It was a difficult kick for him to strike that ball 10 yards outside the right hand post and to draw it back in. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't shocked. And again, the composure that he showed, and let's face it, a lot of the penalty takers showed on at the weekend was frightening.
Monaghan have a huge amount of resilience, Michael. In 4 games of the championship, they've won twice in injury time and they've drawn twice in injury time. So there's something there that is not a coincidence, it seems.
It's not, as I said, I kind of reiterate, I remember a number of times in watching it. When it happens once, you might say to yourself, okay, it might be a little bit of a coincidence. Or, when it happens twice, you say, all right, maybe some people point they ride their luck. But when it happens this number of times, both within this season, but also down the years, then it becomes a trait, I think. It becomes a trait of this team that they actually they revel in it. These players revel in it. And you look at around their team and the Ryan Wileys, the Kieran Duffys, the Carl O'Connells, the 2 Hugheses. We mentioned Conor McManus. Rory Beggan. These players have been there for so long and have demonstrated these capabilities, and they're really, really strong traits to have. So, listen, they'll be looking at, I'm sure, as a huge opportunity against Dublin. They've tightened Dublin before in league games and they're not too distant past. The scary thing about it, I think, from the Monaghan and Derry perspective, and both the senior semi-finals, has been the performances of Kerry and Dublin most recently. And I think that should be alarm bells for both Monaghan and Derry, which I'm sure it would be anyway. But we know Kerry and Dublin, for like a lot of the viewers would see Kerry and Dublin, or onlookers would see Kerry and Dublin as really strong, attacking, flamboyant teams who rack up huge scores, and they done that at the weekend too. But the thing what really struck fear and to me, or for upcoming teams that are playing against them, is their defences were back. Their hunger, their energy, their drive, their tenacity, and their hunger to defend. David Clifford was going around trying to defend and stop Tyrone forwards. The Kerry Tyrone game, where we thought Tyrone would bring a real defensive edge and togetherness and solidarity, it was actually Kerry that brought it. It was Kerry that done a Tyrone on Tyrone. And Dublin, maybe the first 20 minutes a little bit leaky. Ryan O'Donoghue getting in for scores, but when they started to press on that opposition kick out for them number of minutes before half time, where they flung the game out to 9-6, and then for that kind of moving quarter at the start of the second half, to me that was the questions we had lingering over Dublin and Kerry. I felt that the questions I had lingering over in Dublin and Kerry: do they have the hunger and the desire and the defensive togetherness to win All Irelands? Because listen, attacks will get All Irelands to get you to All Irelands, but I do believe it's your defence is what really carries you over the line. It's what carried Kerry over the line last year against Galway, getting to that All Ireland. The flamboyant nature of Clifford, the two Cliffords, and O'Shea was phenomenal last year, but it was the solidarity of Morley, a sweeper, Foley at full back. That's what, to me, won Kerry in All Ireland last year. Is the question marks I had over them this year, but they definitely got it back last weekend, both sides.
The way you're speaking, Michael, you can only see one final.
It's difficult. Going into last weekend, I think going into the quarterfinals, there was, as much as we went for the favourites, we felt things would be a bit closer than they actually were. Other than obviously the Armagh and Monaghan game played out to be, very close. 14 occasions throughout the game they were level, but it's hard to look past. And again, I keep going back to, it's not to being dismissive of Monaghan or Derry and the efforts that they're going to bring and the ability that both of them sides have and have shown so far. It's the all-round nature that I've seen from Kerry and Dublin last day out, and that's what I'm clinging my hat on in terms of, I've no doubt about Kerry and Dublin's attacking prowess, but it was there without the ball. So next day out, even if Monaghan and Derry managed to thwart, Kerry and Dublin's attacks for long periods and stop them from scoring and frustrate them, I also think Dublin and Kerry will frustrate Derry and Monaghan without the ball, and that's where I struggle to see Derry and Monaghan get consistently enough scores to trouble both sides.
Yeah, Paddy Tally's obviously done great work since coming into Kerry. He only conceded the goal in the championship this year. They've limited the amount of turnovers. With Dublin, Cluxton hasn't conceded a goal, obviously, in the championship since 2019. If you're like a Derry person, look, they have their style. It's defensive. It's very much possession based. They build up the play quite slowly. They got Shane McGuigan in attack. Do you see similarities maybe to say maybe 2011 when you played that semi-final against the Dubs? It was 8-6 to Dublin. You got a bit of criticism, but then you evolved your game. You came back a year later and you were able to then unify everything and win the All Ireland.
Yeah, listen, there's similarities, and you can hear and see them drawn quite a lot, and I think Derry actually think that they have evolved this year. I think, and not only do they think, I think they have evolved this year to a better attacking force. They're a better attacking force than they were last year going into play Galway. Shane McGuigan has kept his really consistent top level nature, but quiet last day out. But I think we're safe to say that he's been a really, really strong, consistent performer for them up front. And I also look at Ethan Doherty, Paul Cassidy, Niall Loughlin, and even, the contributions of Brendan Rodgers, Conor Glass, and their half back line, Conor Doherty. I think they're getting more rounded number of scores. So I think attacking wise, they do believe they're further down the line than they were last year. I just don't know how far down are they enough down the line. Like, I mean, to beat Dublin, you're realistically going to need to be upwards of 17, 18 points, 118, 117, that type of scoreline. And against Cork the last day, Derry struggled to probably get to that, pitch maybe towards the end. Yet they were getting there towards that pitch. So I just don't know whether they're going to be able to rack up that score. I've actually, I fancy them, to stifle Dublin. I think defensively, individually, Derry are very sound. And then when you add on top of individually being very sound with the likes of Chrissy McKay, Conor McCluskey, Gareth McKinless, Owen McAvoy, and young 18-year-old coming in for his first year as senior this year. He's had a phenomenal year. Those individuals will be able to really go toe to toe with the likes of a Con and the likes of a Colin Basquel. And then you add into that collective together, that shield that Conor Glass and Brendan Rodgers puts around it. Defensively, I think that they'll do okay. I just don't know. In order to win a game, you need to score, and I just don't know if they'll be able to rack up that big score.
The outrageous piece of skill that David Clifford showed against Tyrone, Michael, you as a top-level forward, what can you identify in what David has that other people just don't have? And you were at the top level.
You can't identify with that. I don't think I've ever had even a glimpse of even identifying with doing something like that. It was frightening. I was down along the Hogan stand side there with him. It was phenomenal. People pointed to him maybe in the game that he was quite quiet. He had 9 shots from play. Yeah, listen, albeit that maybe only converted 1, but in any other field sport game, GA game that you would go and watch, be that underage, early rounds of national leagues, for any player to have 9 shots from play, it's an absolute crazy, statistic to potentially even look at. But listen, that one where you had Pádraig Campsey, who did a really good job on him, and you had Ronan McNamee bearing down, 2 of Tyrone's tough warriors bearing down on him. For him to have the wherewithal to see that, and then the ability to execute it. Some people, really, strong intellectual players might be able to see it. Some players might be really skillful at being able to execute something like that, but to be able to execute and see it was something unreal. And to see it going into Tony Brosnan's arms, for it not to bounce, 10 meters away from him, to not to bounce over his head, but to actually bounce right into his chest, it was it was a joy to behold. And listen, his consistency, I think, is. I was speaking to Mark O'Shea and Paddy Andrews just before the game. We're covering it. We're just saying, like, have we ever seen this level of consistency before from a Gaelic footballer? And I don't know, have we seen it? Like, we're looking at a consistency level now of, schools football. Sigerson Cup. We're looking at him playing with his club. We're looking at him, coming in to play National League games on cold, wet nights around the country. Early rounds of Munster, and to see him now in the big stage, to see that level of consistency day in, day out, I think that's the part that gets me. And it shows you that there must be a real steely, tough competitor within there, along with all that ability,
The Dubs look like 2019 vintage. You had Paul Mannion back, you have Jack McCaffrey coming off the bench, Stephen Crookson's obviously there, Pat Gilroy's in the backroom team. They were kicking the ball as well. They played stylish football.
They did. They went forward. They struggled a wee bit at the start of the game going forward. They dropped a few balls short and whatnot, but they were back to themselves. There was like a hunger, and I think for Dublin, by the way this championship is going to be run out, they got an opportunity to play Mayo, who put them out of the championship 2 years ago. I think those senior players, the McCarthy's, McCaffrey's, the Mannions, the Cons, the Cluxtons, all of those wanted and were hungry to put right that wrong. They're competitive in terms they want to beat Mayo again, and I think that fixture couldn't have came at a better time for Dublin. So there was a hunger there to beat Mayo. All going well next day, and they managed to overcome Monaghan like everybody's expecting to do. They get an opportunity to play Kerry. They get an opportunity to win another All Ireland. But the big motivating factor that I would see maybe from those senior players, who I think is really going to bring them over the line. Yes, the Colin Basquels are coming in, the Lee Gannons are coming in, the Darren Newcombs, those new players are coming in, but it's those bigger players, the Cons, the McCarthy's, the Kieran Kilkenny's coming in even the last day off the bench. It's them that's going to drag them over the line, and I think there's enough hurt within them to beat Kerry after last year's semi-final that will actually be the motivating factor to potentially bring them over the line in All Ireland.
Very interesting, Michael. Your own county, Donegal, it's been a bit of a turbulent year. Paddy Carr left. You had Aidan O'Rourke leave there recently, relegated from the league. Disappointing defeat to Tyrone in the end. What's your kind of feelings about the year as a whole in Donegal?
Listen, it was difficult. It was difficult to watch, and the senior manager appointment dragged on. It probably left a better taste in terms of, was there a massive amount of interest in the role in the first place? No, potentially not. Fairness, the management team came in. The National League didn't start great. A lot of players were missing. I think something that can't be overlooked. I think when we look at it, players wanting to go away travelling, working, injuries. Injuries to Patrick Bertie, Oisin Gallen out. Ryan McHugh with an injury. Missing your quality, I think, is difficult. And I suppose as a Donegal person, we pray that they're all back next year and healthy and fit. Like, I suppose Patrick and Oisin did come back towards the end of the end of the championship. But listen, it was a difficult one to watch and to see, and obviously then throw into that the academy issue around that really, I suppose, escalated the down, the lack of confidence and the downness that everybody, I suppose, Donegal person was feeling. There was a kick from the senior side in terms of, ones against Clare, better performance against Derry, a one against Monaghan. But I suppose last year against Tyrone probably was much more like what we have seen all year. And where there was that kick, will give you that bit of a hope in terms of, just hopefully next year get a manager in. The process selection is open. Candidates can apply now already. There's a deadline for the end of July, which will hopefully mean an earlier appointment than last year. And I think an earlier appointment is key to getting the thing back and running again, because I suppose next year will be Division 2. There'll be a lot hanging on Division 2 from the end of January in terms of consolidating or getting into, I think not consolidating, but actually getting into and driving towards the Sam Maguire competition. We've seen how tricky that was for teams to navigate this year, and to look at Cork, who were all of a sudden maybe a week away or a game away from Talton Cup, to seeing them actually being a better attacking performance away from an All-Ireland semi-final shows you the fine margins of this thing. So the next year's senior side in Donegal, hopefully we'll have our best players back. Hopefully again we'll have a new manager in quite early, and hopefully, as I say, we'll be ready to go by the end of January.
Was it regrettable that Carl Lacey felt he had to walk away, Michael?
Regrettable, surely. I mean, the work that he had done, this would have been year 3 of the academy. The 2 years prior to that, the work that was beginning to be done here, long-standing, difficulties in Donegal geographically, where we're about trying to, really match schools together with academies and things like that. Something we always struggled with in the county. That was beginning to not only be set up, but it was beginning to flourish. The academy teams were beginning to flourish. The coaches, we were getting more and more coaches involved. They were getting education. They were becoming, again, they were actually following teams up the ladder, and things were just really beginning to be done right. You would have been training as a senior, a team up in the centre of excellence, and you would have been seeing how the thing was run, in and out, as you would have been seeing over your shoulder, different teams, non-grades teams training. So yes, it was beginning to really flourish. You felt in year 3 it was going to, I suppose, take off. The building blocks were there for it to flourish even further. So yes, absolutely regrettable for it that it wasn't able to continue on. But here's hoping, as I say, the report has been done. Report has been drawn up. There's been actions within the report. And here's hoping, again, those actions can get looked at and things can get back to where they were, because, again, the report outlines there was a hell of a lot of good work done. As I say, hopefully we can try and, encapsulate that now before it goes any further down the year. There's 1 year lost there, but again, it's only 1 year if we can take the learnings from it and put it right as a county,
Yeah, and there was criticism in that report as well, the Joint National Ulster GA Committee report about certain aspects of governance on the Donegal. When I look at Jim McGuinness, I look at the way you worked with Jim as captain in 2011, 2012, all those years, 2014. You need somebody dynamic in there at Donegal, don't you, now, as the new manager? You need somebody of that calibre, probably, It won't be Jim, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, listen, come here. You want somebody in, definitely. I think that group of players that are there at the moment within Donegal senior football, I think there's a hell of a lot of ability there. There's a need now for somebody to come in with a vision. I think for the players, but also to uplift the county. I think the whole county needs an absolute a lift from all around, from all facets. And this county has shown before, once there is a lift, however small that lift may be, that they'll absolutely row on behind it, and everybody, fans alike, will travel and row on behind whatever we need. So, yeah, listen, we need to get that. I think there's enough. We've seen a number of, I suppose, of suppose maybe former players. The likes of Colin McFadden's, and Mark McHugh's, and Paul Durkin's have all got involved. With Leo McClune's and Eamon McGee's all involved recently, with Donegal under-20 sides, with Sligo was common. So there's enough, I suppose, them that are out trialing and trying to educate themselves and forward themselves. So hopefully there's enough interest for the role. And as I say, an appointment can get made soon, and we can get the ball up and rolling as a county again to get pushing towards that end of January date.
You're the head of sport at ATU Donegal and Letterkenny. What's the day today for you, Michael?
Yeah, so it's everything around, I suppose, the sporting offering within ATU Donegal. Be that the competitive sport offering, the recreational, the sport offering. Yeah, there's so many facets to it now. That I suppose the stereotypical sports that were always on offer of your soccer, your Gaelic games, and basketball. There's more and more interest from students now in a variety of different sports. And that's keeping everybody on toes to try and provide offerings and seeing if there's ways for those students to compete and to get on recreationally. So yeah, listen, and throughout the summer and looking to design programs again for next year. And yeah, listen, we've recently moved on to become a technological university along with Galway and Sligo, and yeah, we've counterparts there too that we're learning from, and they've done things well in the sporting sphere too. So it's yeah, listen, it's a vibrant place to be about, and a good place to be around, and looking forward to keeping trying to develop things there in the future.
If I remember rightly, are you a Liverpool man?
Liverpool man through and through, through and through. So keeping up to date with all transfer rumours and happenings and everything. So we have another 6 signings to make, I think, by all rumours,
You're doing a bit of coaching as well?
Doing a bit, yeah. So I'm in with our Glen Scully under 17s, was in last year with them, and I'm currently in this year with them again. So championship, funny enough, started on Monday night. We played Gweedore. Neil McGee was the manager of the Gweedore side, so we were battling on the sideline. But it's yeah, they're a great age group, they're a great cohort. We've been very lucky in the club to have 2 brilliant cohorts last year and this year, and yeah, just trying to feel way into it. I'm along with another club man, Gary McFadden, and we're trying to coach and manage the best way we can. And as I say, they're under 17s is younger. It's definitely, obviously it's younger than under 18s was. So yeah, 15, 16, 17-year-olds who are just trying to find a way, and we're just trying to create a good place for them. Hopefully they enjoy it.
The Electric Ireland All Ireland Minor football final tomorrow. Derry Monaghan at 1 o'clock in the Athletic Grounds. Michael, we'll just finish where we started. What would your advice be to a young person maybe involved there tomorrow, or involved as a young minor in the inter-county scene or in the club scene that wants to have aspirations of being a senior? What are the do's and don'ts for the next few years for these great people?
Yeah, listen, it's a crazy one. It's one you think going around your head all the time when you're going out to coach. Listen, it's the first one that you say that no young person ever listens to. I never listen to, is to go and enjoy it. They're so young, like you forget about it. You think maybe tomorrow is going to be the be all and end all for these young boys. It's not. It's absolutely not. I look at myself as a minor, and over I definitely we got beat in the first round stage at in 2007. I spoke earlier on in the interview about coming away from the Tommy Walsh, I suppose, experience that I would call it. Enjoy it tomorrow. They've done so well, both of the sides, to get there, and learn from it. Come away from it. The team that wins it, that's not going to make their world forever more amen. Do you know what I mean? They're going to have to get up the next day and try and improve and go on their journey again. So learn from it, and listen, they have, you know, they have challenges that they'll be overcoming and trying to overcome in the coming years. And, you know, as I say, just keep enjoying it, learn from all the experiences they're going to have over the next couple of years. And, you know, not to be finished on a negative, but it is a negative. You know, they'll have a number of experiences and challenges that they will overcome in the next few years, and a lot of it is, you know, learning potentially for a lot of them to say no to things that they need to do, to definitely embrace new challenges. And, you know, they'll hopefully all be, you know, new experiences going to college and going into under 20 and senior ranks, and they're brilliant experiences to say yes to. But there's also things, you know, potentially coming up in life that they maybe just have to say no to, and that's okay too. So yeah, enjoy it, and I say they've all done so well to get there, and try and learn from it.
Glenn Swilly's Michael Murphy, thanks so much for speaking to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. The best of luck with ATU Donegal. Keep up the great work, and look forward to chatting to you soon.
Good man, thanks John, enjoyed it.